While sports are often touted as a test of one's physical prowess, we seem to often forget how critical an athlete's mental game is. For racers, it can't be discounted how much the mind can have an effect on performance. Hearing last week that Greg Seitz sees Road Atlanta as one of its stronger tracks, will that emotional boost be enough to beat back the charging David Holland? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 5 of the PRL Formula 3 series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel and the iRacing Esports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Nick Schmeg. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Of the tracks often listed as being punishing, you don't typically hear of Road Atlanta being one of them. But this place has some seriously dangerous pitfalls that even the best drivers have succumbed to. Let's take a closer look at what makes this place so tricky.
All right, we've got Kevin Santana and the GSRC Formula 3, so let's do a lap around Road Atlanta. Turn 1 is going to take some bravery because it's just a light brush of the brakes and then you're back on the throttle. The car's going to compress heavily on its way up the hill, so you've got to trust that it'll grip. Then you got to nail your braking for the very blind turn 3. It's important to have a planted car because you'll want to find the throttle as soon as you can since you won't be lifting all the way through the S's. At the end of this sequence is the fearsome turn 5. Once again, the car will stick to the ground at first, then suddenly it'll go away as the track crests. This is by far the most common place for drivers to end their race. You get a short rest before 6, where occasionally you'll see passes, but you won't be braking until surprisingly late, so it'll be tough. Quickly, you're chucked into 7, which is possibly the most important turn of the circuit. Fail to get a good run off of here and you're going to pay dearly all the way down the backstretch. But while momentum will be important to a good lap time, don't forget about the huge hole in the air this car is going to create. Expect any opponent near you to get a good slipstream and try to attack into the final chicane. You've got to be careful under braking though. It's steeply downhill and it will be easy to come in too hot. The last thing you want is to wind up sliding into the side pod of your rival. Once again, get back to the power as soon as you're sure it'll stick. Then swing it under the Suzuki bridge and it's flat out around the final corner. But hopefully you've now finished a lap around Road Atlanta.
There you see what it's like around the track, as we certainly should give a few of the stats as well about this place. Nikki, what's we looking at here with Road Atlanta?
Well, Joe, you call this place punishing, but I call it hungry, and not just because it's shaped like a pork chop, but because this track will gobble you up in a heartbeat. No matter how good you're running, a few inches wide in some of these turns will end your race in a blink of an eye. The reason for that is because one of those F3 tires could glide over these curbs a little too much, or it might touch the grass while at an awkward elevation change. Two big places to watch out for tonight are going to be turns 2 and 3, where you have a blind entrance over a crest into a tight braking set of S's. You've also got to watch out, though, for turn number 5, the exit of those S's, where the curb to driver's right is notorious in the paddock for ending races early. The 2.5-mile road course here in Brazelton, Georgia offers some great passing zones, though, like the turn 10 chicane after a big draft run down the back straightaway. And overall, the drivers tonight are going to have to live up to the league's name because at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, precision is key.
Certainly is. And well, before we get to the racing out on track, why don't we go to our sponsor, starting with NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets, supporting over 6,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit NinjaTrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com. Now, we've also got the championship to go over, and as I mentioned, David Holland is currently leading the way. He's got 3 wins out of the 4 rounds that we've contested. Greg Seitz has taken 1 victory so far, with that one being at Lime Rock Park. Mauricio Cuerdo, a little ways back, actually tied with Sam Hermer currently between those two, trying to figure out who's going to take the podium spot. But there's still a lot of racing yet to go, so they could get in the mix for the hunt for the championship. But based on pace, I wouldn't expect it so far. David Soroy, consistency's been his friend, and it's kept him within the top 5 in the points. Let's see if he can stay there as the season goes on. Let's go over to the team's championship as well and see what that's looking like.
Yeah, so over the teams championships, we have two different races here. We have a race for third place on the podium. You see those three teams at the bottom, 49 and 53 points back. But up at the top, now Joe, you mentioned that David Holliday has 3 of the 4 wins this season. Now, the interesting thing is that David Holland actually races for Vantage Azuro, and he's in second place there with that team behind Rust Racing Iron, which is being led right now by Greg Seitz. He's only got 1 win, but that team has time and time again. Now you see they're 14 points ahead, proven to be consistent because they've got drivers like Samuel Hermer sitting in 4th place overall in that team as well.
Now, if we have viewers who've never watched this series before, why don't we run down the race details very quickly? We are in round 5, and it's a 45-minute race that they'll be contesting today. The cars do have an open setup, so they can tweak anything you can on the real Formula 3 car here in the sim. They do have a stop and go penalty at 11 incidents, and then at 20 incidents on track, you will be disqualified. There's a couple places where you can rack those up, but I'd be shocked if anybody manages to disappear before their car is just a steaming pile at the side of the road, unfortunately. A bonus point for pole, fastest lap, 3 incidents or less are on hand if the drivers want to try and get them. And that will be important in the championship. We've seen it be close before, so they do need to try their best to see if they can rack those up as the races go by. You are once again watching this on the iRacing Esports Network. Make sure and subscribe to the channel. Very easy to do so. All you got to do is click subscribe. It's right below the video on YouTube. Do that, and you won't miss a moment here on IESN. As qualifying is underway, Holland was leading the chase in the warm-up, but not in quali so far. Still, it is small margins between the top 3. 0.137 of a second between Seitz, Holland, and Hermer currently.
Yeah, Greg Seitz on top right here, and like you said, very, very close, but you've got a bunch of familiar names up there at the top, and Sam Hermer actually just jumped David Holland, and David Holland, as I say that, he's going to go to the top of the board.
So Holland responding to Greg Seitz, and Seitz's last 2 laps actually did not count, so he's got to try and clean things up. Christopher Richards coming around in 25th, and he's not going to improve. Rosenbaum will, and that puts him up to 21st. Barnett as well as he crosses the line. Looks like that's not going to be a quicker one for him. This track, it always seems to be one that takes its toll on attrition as drivers fall by the wayside just from all the difficulty we've been talking about. And the one that I really have got my eye on that I think is probably the toughest corner, probably one of the most underrated corners in racing, is turn 5 here.
Yeah, you come up out of the S's, which is an uphill. The S's are downhill, but you come up out of the S's uphill back onto the main plateau here in turn 5, and you have that big, massive curb to the right when you come out of that, and it's kind of blind. So you know your natural tendency is to just drift straight over that curb. But if your car, especially these low to the ground F3s, if that hits it just perfectly, or even any kind of awkward way at all, that's going to send you spinning, and there's not much runoff there either.
There really isn't. That wall is right up close. Rod Clenard goes from the outside of row 2 to the inside. He's into 3rd, and actually he just wrecked out, though, unfortunately. So, not sure what happened there. Raymond Day, who we're watching, is coming down to turn 6, but we switched over to Bennett, whose last lap actually was an improvement. That only gets him up to 27th, though. So it looks like he's got a lot of work to do yet still in these final 6 minutes. Going to see if we have anybody who is out of position that we're used to seeing a little bit higher up. Kevin Santana seems to be one of those. Has about 3 laps in qualifying, and a 14.1 is his quickest. He's just coming out on an out lap right now in that 666 car, and he's sitting down in 12th place, nearly a full second off the pole time. Here's Greg Seitz once again, 2nd place still after being toppled by Holland. Can he go any faster? Yes, it's a 13.3, but that is not good enough for pole. He's still a 10th off of David. Soroy, who we mentioned was fifth in the championship, now down out of turn 12 and across the line, doesn't improve on the 13.6 from his last lap. He only needs to make up 1,000th to get to the inside of row 3. That's Stephen Verity, who currently holds that P5 position. To Bennett, again, Barnett, excuse me. Jack is playing, it's like a little bit of a swapping game with Christopher Richards, who goes by, and neither of them are going to be able to improve on their lap times with them so close together. Not sure that they'll be able to do so on this one. Holland this time by, not any quicker. He might actually be on his first time lap that time by, so still getting those tires heated up.
You know, Joe, we saw a couple drivers swapping places there. I believe that was Daniel Barnett we just mentioned, swapping with another driver. And a lot of times we do see that in this series in qualifying so that they can get some toe times and maybe shave a couple tenths off. But here at Road Atlanta, you got to watch out for that. It is effective on the back straightaway. But I've noticed, you know, for just myself here driving through the S's, if you're tucked up right underneath someone, you actually have a great deal of aero push, a great deal of wake coming off of that car. And that is not going to help you, especially in places like turn 5, like you mentioned.
Soroy not able to go quicker. The Canadian stays where he is. Greg Seitz now coming through. The Northwest Club driver crosses the line. This is a non-lap for him. He seems to have had an off track at some point somewhere. Holland is going to follow him across as he comes out of the chicane under the Suzuki Bridge. That's Josh Daniels, who you're seeing flashes of behind him. Check to see if he gets any quicker himself. No dice for Holland, and no dice for Daniels, who will also stay in P15. So right now, your top 3 rows are Holland, Seitz, Clenard, Hermer, Verity, and Soroy. Haven't seen a whole lot of changes recently among them. Nobody able to really find any more tenths on these last few runs. We were talking about Santana earlier. Let's see if he's done anything good. Bacigalupo, who's in 9th, comes to the line and is not able to go quicker. 666 now, just behind Honig. Kevin Santana, nope, another lap that did not count for him. He's going to have to start hustling. Watch Soroy, and that one was a 15.3. That was well off of a good time for him. Not sure what went wrong there.
We saw Alex Guyon flash on the screen for a second there. That's a big surprise, I think, to see him way down in 14th right now. Watch to see if he can improve later in qualifying, because 5 of the top 6 right now are in the top 6 in points, and that 6th place driver in points is Alex Guyon. So he's a good couple positions off where he belongs in the championship.
I've seen a lot of drivers struggle already with that turns 2 and 3 complex up at the top of the hill on the pit exit. I know I've seen a lot of races here that unfortunately come to a premature end for drivers in that left-right on the very first lap. It seems like it's kind of dangerous coming through. I mean, what can you do as a driver to try and avoid those situations? Because it seems like it just is a kind of a bad combination on lap 1.
Yeah, the thing about turns 2 and 3 is that, you know, you don't always see that. It's kind of like in a GT car or a GT3 car. That is a very tough situation. You know, very wide cars through a very tight part of the track. But the good thing about those cars is that they're a lot higher up. These F3 cars, that might be a trickier corner than maybe even turn 5, just because it is so blind and you have to know the track so perfectly. And a lot of these drivers, I'm sure, do. But when you are side by side with someone else like that, you got to be prepared. So, you know, I found myself in this car practicing just getting out of line just on that first turn to try to be prepared to know where the curbs are, where the grass is, just so you don't, you know, end up, you know, taking someone else out.
That's a good idea. I hadn't thought about that, trying to intentionally get yourself offline. Barnett, well, he was online for that one. He goes up to 27th with that 16 flat. So a small improvement for him over his quickest is going to get him a couple spots there. See Rod Clenard coming down to the line soon. This is Bacigalupo, who we see on screen. Looking for a faster lap than that 13.6, and he's going to find it by about a 10th. So that'll move him up to P5. Clenard, in the meantime, does not quite have the same luck. Still stuck in 3rd. Gok looks like he's pulling over, so I think his qualifying may be done. Guyon not able to go faster. We're now less than a minute left, so if they want to try and go up higher on the list, drivers have really got to get something down. Josh Daniels now underneath that Suzuki bridge. He's in 16th. His quickest is a 14.3. There's about 2 laps to go. Make that a 14.2 for him. That's up to P14. And Barnett, let's see what he's got. Nothing doing for him that time by. Now down to 10 seconds left on the clock, and I think Prue as well as Verity are going to be the last ones to be able to sneak through. Verity goes quicker, a 13.595, and that gets him 1 position. Looks like Brett Thurman takes the checkered flag, not able to go any quicker. Mitchell Green, who is in 6th place, that time across a 13.549, but he's 4 1,000ths off the next car up, so that's not going to do it. Kevin Santana does not have that last lap count. He's done for the day. Mark Ponick, same deal. What about Alex Guyon in 16th place? He hit a 14.2. He's going to abandon it. He pulls over before he even crosses the line. And Matt Quinn, nicely done, up to 12th on his final go. Nothing for Spicer. I see Cuero coming up next. In the number 79, he's managed to get into 8th with a 1:13.6. It is a pretty steep fall down that last run to the finish line. And he's not going to be able to go any faster. Barnett, a 15.7. That's a big jump for him, but looks like he's not going to find any any positions because of it. Richards doesn't improve. Daniel Cranefoos, a 13.796. That's good enough for 11th. Do we have anybody else? And I do not believe so. So grid is set. Let's go through that starting order with David Holland on the pole once again. Greg Seitz is just about a 10th behind him in 2nd place. Rod Clenard, good enough for 3rd in qualifying. Could he do better? Maybe by staying consistent throughout the race. Sam Hermer starts P4. Then you've got Lucas Bacigalupo in his very last lap, finding a good chunk of pace and moving up to P5. Mitchell Green starts in 6th. The next row has Stephen Verity in 7th place. Mauricio Cuero in 8th. And then David Soroy, shockingly for him, starting from P9. Raymond Day will then round out your top 10.
Behind them, row 6 is going to be made up of Daniel Cranefoos and Matt Quinn. David McDonald, who is coming off of a DNF at Imola. He's going to be looking to turn things around. He starts 13th today alongside Kevin Santana. Josh Daniels rounds out the top 15, and he'll be starting in row 8 alongside Alex Guyon, who sits 10 positions back from where he is in the championship standings. Behind them is Sebastian Prue and Eduardo Gach in the 45 car. Olivier Legault and Mark Ponick going to be back in the top 20.
First goes to Brett Thurman with Sheldon Rosenbaum putting it on P22. Lauren Sebastian starts 23rd. Andy Spicer, good enough for P24 today. And then Christopher Richards, 15.5, is going to get him up to 25th. Owen McLaughlin next to him. Inside the next row, Daniel Barnett in 27th with David Hebert in 28th. Last driver to put a time in is David Blackwood, who will start 29th. Don Lee, Matthew Gunderson, Tyler Gore will be gridded at the back, and I do see them in the session, so I should expect that we'll see all 32 drivers take to the grid here today. That's a pretty big field for a track like this. They cycle around it relatively fast, especially in these open wheelers. You can see them now starting, and this is one of those awkward things about this track. It's not usually used for standing starts, and so they kind of work their way around the final corner and up the hill. Some people might have to be putting a little bit of steering angle in the car when they get on the throttle. Hopefully that doesn't catch anybody out today. We're just essentially waiting on Seitz and Hebert to put themselves out on the track, and then we're good to go for 45 minutes here for round 5 of the PRL F3 series. Seitz is out, and so is Hebert. So the engines begin to rev. The lights come up. Green flag is out. Starts can sometimes offer great opportunities in this series. Who's going to get a good one? Holland looking solid. Greg Seitz cycles in immediately behind him, covering off Rod Clenard. He doesn't want to give up the inside line into turn one. A little bit of side-by-side through the first corner. Not much in the way of three wide as everybody's trying to stay safe, but what about turns 2 and 3?
Pretty much everyone good so far. A couple drivers peeking off track. Let's see one instance of three wide, but I don't see a single car facing the wrong direction, so all things looking good.
So far, so good, but cold tires up and over turn 5. See a little bit of a slow moment for Mitchell Green. He's going to lose a spot to Cuero, and I think we've got someone with an issue. Thurman is off already on lap 1. He's hit the barrier, and he's taking a tow.
Yeah, that's a big wreck for Thurman.
Get back to the replay on that in a bit. David Holland leading the way, pulling a gap on Greg Seitz. First battle is for third place. Rod Clenard going defensive on Sam Hermer. Hermer's got a nose ahead, but he's on the long way around, and early braking from Clenard is going to offer that up. No, too late a braking. Sorry. That is Sam Hermer going in too deep. Cuts across the course. Not only loses the spot back, but an extra one, 2 now, maybe even 3, as he is just getting swamped.
And it's going to be 4-2, because I think Stephen Verity's going to get him on the outside. Yeah, everyone bunched up here at the beginning, even Raymond Day able to close in on him. It might be 5 to get a little bit loose going into 2 and 3. It will indeed be 5, 6, 7 positions. Hermer continues to plummet through the field.
I wonder if it's because of a slowdown penalty on this first lap, which can be extra punishing. He's still trying to give it all back. For fans of Sebastian Prue, I can report he also had a spin. Don't need a replay of it, but he's falling to 31st. And now Gunderson is going to fall to that position because he has lost it in the turn we were talking about, turn 3. Back live, watching him now head on the backstretch. I believe this is the battle between Cranefoos and Quinn for 11th at Racine, with an absolute train of cars following them. He's got a nice run, just like we saw before though. Cranefoos covering off the inside. Quinn, can he avoid the same pitfall? Looks like he's going to slow the car up effectively, side by side. Oh, and he can't get the car gunned off the corner. McDonald on the attack, along with Sam Hermer, looking to get his positions through, but no change between these three. In fact, Sam has to back out while McDonald has a run on Quinn. Quinn starting to take a defensive line, and they almost come together in the turn 1, but manage to get out the other side.
Really close, all in a line. Matt Quinn leading David McDonald. They're kind of going to spread out through the S's. Let's jump to P4 because we've got a battle between, looks like teammates here, Mauricio Cuero and Lucas Bacigalupo.
Bacigalupo now as we give chase on that 4th position. The slipstream looks like it's relatively powerful here on the back stretch. Is a big swapper for Bacigalupo. He thankfully catches it. This is going to be Green getting this spot away, and indeed easily up into P5. Bacigalupo, I think it's about maybe trying to come back on the attack down into the chicane, and looks like Nick is nothing doing there for this time.
Yeah, that was kind of awkward for him. He didn't want to let off the gas, of course, and lose momentum, but he didn't quite have the speed to stay on him on the inside. Not going to be bad enough to lose another position to Stephen Verity. He's got a decent gap behind him.
Rosenbaum off course in the chicane. You see him trying to return. Looks like he had a little bit of contact. I think it's Andy Spicer.
That is indeed Spicer. He was outside there.
Might have been ghost contact. That definitely knocked the tire loose off the suspension for Rosenbaum. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to continue. And indeed, he's already in pit lane after that. That'll be a lot of repairs to get back going once again. Up at the front, David Holland is 1 second ahead of Greg Seitz. He's keeping him honest. It's about 1.5 back to Rod Clenard as well. That's the point at which you finally get something that resembles a battle between Cuero and Clenard, but it's not the closest in our top 10. That belongs to Bacigalupo and Verity, giving chase to Mitchell Green, who we saw get that spot not long ago.
Yeah, Basagluppo certainly, I think, has the pace to get back around Mitchell Green. But like you said, cold tires still early. Of course, they are warming up a little bit more now, but just that's a bold move right now to be too ambitious early on.
Very few laps on them at this point as they come over the crest of 2 and 3, down into the S's now, just and stay single file through here. Watching the tail of the train on Verity. This really gives you a good idea of what we're talking about. Up and over that hump of turn 5, and look at how wide they are risking it over that curve. Drivers seem to be confident enough that the car is going to stay stable there.
Yeah, that's the issue with that turn, is that is the fastest way, is to just go over and go straight over that curve, that hump that you call it, and there's track on the other side of it, so of course drivers are going to try it, but one wrong move and it's all over.
Well, fortunately, they all did not make a wrong move this time through, but unfortunately, that means that none of them are going to get a chance to try and make an attack. Looking through to see who's made good inroads on the field. Not many drivers going upwards. As we take a look at some of the mid-pack, which have been in exciting battles, even if they aren't making moves forward. Hermer, Quinn, McDonald, all close together here. I'm guessing Hermer, who's up in 11th, has recently passed these two. Good run there out of turn 1 from McDonald, but it's a brave man that tries to send it into turn 3, and he decides better of it.
See what kind of run he gets down through the S's. You can gain on him a lot through here, but it's that turn 5 crest that you just can't gain too much on him. A little bit of a wiggle from Matt Quinn might be enough to set it up going into 6 and 7.
Once again, McDonald deciding not here, not quite yet. Looking maybe for the run out of turn 7 and running down the backstretch. We're talking about the slipstream that the cars have been offering up here. They get quite a bit of speed going, already up to 140 miles an hour now as we watch these two. McDonald closes in, holding the middle of the road. Quinn's going to force him to go really tight. In fact, squeezes him all the way to the inside, but that is not enough to keep David McDonald back. He's going to take that 12th by force.
I think McDonald might have had his left sides on the grass there.
Not taking no for an answer. Quinn stays with him. In fact, he gets a magnificent run off the final corner and gets the inside away down into turn 1. This is aggressive fighting between these two, almost shoves him aside. And this is going to open the door for Kevin Santana, who now joins the fray. He can't quite find the chance into turn 3. And he's also got Alex Gaillon back there. And you can see the 4th in line.
Not sure how much of a door there's going to be for Kevin Santana when these two are battling side by side, but we see they get single file. David McDonald not going to be able to put a run on him into 6. He's going to have an early braking entry there, so he's going to have a big run through 7. See what kind of slipstream they get. All kinds of action down the backstretch now.
Last time McDonald didn't have someone attacking him from the rears. So is Santana going to complicate things for the number 6 car? He's once again getting close to Matt Quinn, and Matt just drifting across to try and make sure this time he goes all the way to the inside, forcing him around the outside. Oh, a little bit too deep for McDonald. And there goes Kevin Santana, as well as Alex Gaillon. So 13th and 14th for Kevin and Alex, respectively, as David falls to P15.
Really smart setup there Alex Gaillon had. He actually got off the gas on the backstretch, was kind of coasting. Looked like he was fuel saving almost, but really I think he was just trying to keep out of the way. He knew something was going to unfold from there.
If we go up to 5th place, we're seeing something similar between Basagluppo, Green, and Verity. A 3-way fight to try and crack into those top 5 positions. We're not missing anything up front. Seitz just kind of holding on to Holland by about a second. They are dropping Clenard, though, I will say. Let's stay with this. As they come down the backstretch, Basagluppo probably watching those mirrors, and look at him dive across the track to break the draft.
Yeah, I don't think Green, he's going to be late on the brakes. That'll help him to close in, but a little bit of a wheel spin coming out of the chicane is going to hurt him.
Kevin Santana's not done with his fight as Guyon had a big attack down into the chicane, but it looks like Santana's going to hold on to it. This puts Guyon under threat because McDonald is going to try and pull a similar move, and he's going to manage to get to the inside, carries his speed. He just doesn't quite have the overlap. He knows it. He's going to back out of it.
That is going to allow McDonald to try to get a big run through the S's, though.
Ooh, a little bit of a mistake from Quinn through turn 3, but it's just so narrow that Santana's not able to do anything with it. You can see that battle up ahead of these two as they start to square off into pairs. Down in turn 6. Santana could use the draft down the backstretch once again. Both of them looking to get as good of a launch as possible. They know what's at stake down this long straightaway. And they're keeping Alex Guyon far enough back. Alex probably won't be able to make an attack. Santana will, though. And Quinn, Quinn actually goes back to the right side instead of defending like we saw from him before. Santana fully alongside, wheel to wheel, and stronger on the brakes. Quinn decides to let him go. Move Kevin now up into 12th.
I thought Quinn was going to try to crossover. He had too much speed. He has to get to the outside here of Kevin Santana. I thought he might still be able to get a run into turn 1, but Santana's going to go defensive.
See another crossover. If we do, it'll give him the inside into turn 3. No, it is not there. But it is going to stack everybody up, all those defensive moves. And once again, Quinn with a big mistake. This is going to check them up. And McDonald is willing to risk it going side by side into the S's. This is difficult to do. He just can't hold on to it. Oh, my goodness.
He got incredibly loose there, too, trying to recover from choosing to go side by side. Even Guyon had to get on the curbs to try to avoid him.
Well, this was a blessing for Kevin Santana, who just pulls away by 1.3 seconds from Matt Quinn. So he is no longer under threat. Look at the train starting to form back there. That's all for position. That's Mark Ponick, Josh Daniels, Eduardo Gotch. And this could get a little bit spicy if we have 6 going for one position. Let's jump away from that to look at our leaders because Clenard, as he's dropped off the sights, has fallen into the clutches of Puerto. Mauricio, who started in 8th, has gone upwards and upwards and is now looking at a potential podium.
This has been a great race so far for Rod Clenard. His best finish before this was 7th so far on the season.
Which is shocking because he's gotten plenty of podiums in the past in this series.
He's had lots of bad luck. And that's really going to help the team's championship, too, because David Holland, you know, he's got 3 wins, but he's only 2nd in the team's championship. Well, that's actually David Holland's teammate right there.
Well, Rod Clenard's unfortunately going to get run down as this battle is heating up between Quinn, Guyon, and McDonald once again. They come onto the back stretch, just as Puerto did get by Clenard into the chicane. Here we go. And Guyon gets enough of a run that he's going to look to the inside. In fact, he's going to bring along McDonald. This could be 2 positions down and trying to shut the door now. Matt Quinn, oh no! McDonald into his rival. He's going to be able to keep going. And Quinn still loses the position as Ponick now suddenly gets... and now they get into each other. And they're going to smack the wall as we watch the replay. Oh boy, this just unfolded in horrible ways here. You can see the damaged suspension, unfortunately, that forces him to take a tow. Oh, the car's just getting tangled down the hill, and the edge of the pit wall was right there, so there was little they could do to try and avoid that.
And then Mark Ponick comes through. He was about a dozen car lengths behind this battle, headed into the chicane.
So we've come back live. 30 minutes left to go. The pit window should be opening. Puerto, I can report, is well ahead of Clenard by about 0.7 of a second until I say that, and he spins it up and over the crest. What happened there? it because my view was kind of blocked there. So
Nice, the left side tires just snagged the grass. Yeah,
yeah.
that's
Oof. Well, that was costly. From podium position down to 11th place below where he even started. As we come back live, he's catching more grass even. Day just not going well for him. Don't need to go to it, but I can say that David Blackwood has had an off. He's currently running in 25th. So with that going away for third place, that means the battle's now for fourth between Bacigalupo, Green, and Serwa.
yeah. Bacigalupo he's managed to get around Michelin Green, but it looks like Green, he's still definitely in the slipstream here, coming down into the turn 10 chicane. Bacigalupo is going to go defensive.
Gonna make him do this the hard way. It is possible sometimes. And I'd
done.
say it's very possible. Look at that. Green's not out of the woods yet. Here comes Bacigalupo. We've seen this swap over many times before. Looking for the run down the front stretch, but once again, aggressive defense from the driver ahead, knowing track position is so key here. Almost forcing him out wide, but gives him space on the exit of turn 1. Serwa watching as they come together. We got another car into the barrier. Both of them go off, and David is going to get a 2 for 1.
David Serwa off the gas all the way up the hill, and it pays off perfectly. 2 freebies, but yeah, look at this. Bacigalupo is going to spin to the left. Michelin Green's going to spin to the right.
If he would given him 2 more inches of room, I think they would have gotten away with that. I'm going to watch Mitchell's perspective on it. You do want to open up that corner, but that's you can't do that when there's a car there. Oh, and Green's just had a big wreck just now with Eduardo Gotch. This was in turn 6. So, oh yeah, his car looks like it is already broken as he's trying to get going. So, figure out how this happened. Oh, you know what? He's going to spin in front of him.
Yeah, he was trying to limp it around. The suspension was already jacked up, it looks like.
Yeah, you can't always see what's going on there, and with no suspension there, the car tries to turn and says no thank you, and Gotch has to continue on. He eventually came to a halt after a second wreck down in the chicane and has taken a tow. Let's get back to the racing on track, though. Stephen Verdi and Sam Hermer. Hermer from 4th down to 6th. Not the day he's been looking for. 1 spot up from Verdi could do the trick. Let's watch from his perspective as they pick up speed down the backstretch, and this is going to be a good run for him.
Yeah, Hermer's been picking him off one by one after that mistake at the start. He fell back to 12th. Looks like he's going to be able to get by Verdi here, at least going into the chicane. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to hold it coming out of it.
Down into the braking zone, and he's got it done. As long as he's clean through this portion, and he is, that'll do it. For fans of Kevin Santana, unfortunately, it looks like he has had a DNF today. I'm not entirely sure what happened, but I did see that he spun off the road. Oh, it looks like he did hit the wall. We don't need a replay of it, but he borked the suspension as well, just tapping the concrete back in turn 6. We talked about that attrition, Nick, and I'm looking at our timing and scoring. It is not as populated as it once was.
Yeah, I think we just had, 5 or 6 cars either lose a lap or drop out of the race entirely in 1 lap.
Watch cars continue to try and lap here. Oh,
Hermer!
Oh, and that puts him in the barrier. That is David A. Bear that is involved in that one. He was trying to pass him, and I guess he just was not expecting Hermer to brake when he did, because he's going to clip him from the back. So there's
And another one.
Gets overtaken. He gives him space. Oh, he wanted to turn in, and there just was not room at the end, unfortunately. Bear's actually still going, but his car does not look fast, so I'm not sure if he's got some severe damage going on. Really, best battle up at the top we've got is P5 between Cranefoos and Verity. And yeah, Cuerdo. Wow, Cuerdo is back up to 7th already. Wasn't he down in 11th or 12th?
He definitely was. That attrition has helped him, but also he's just been aggressively going after these positions. You can see just how aggressive he is there over turn 5, chasing these two.
Let's see what it's like to try and snatch these positions away as we hop on the helmet cam, coming down the back stretch. Just guiding the car through there and looking a little bit stronger than Verity. He's going to get the toe with it as well. Is this going to be enough of a straightaway, or will the chicane come too soon? They've dropped off Cranefoos, so they're not going to be able to attack. Verity feels under threat, at least, because he defends. Cuerdo isn't close enough to attack. He'll stay put. And I think we've had Greg Seitz come in for what I believe is a scheduled stop.
That way.
Relinquishing second place. Down into the lane. Does he take tires? I think he is. Yeah, yep, there he goes. 74 took fresh rubber. That's been a big talking point this season, Nick.
Yeah, it definitely has. It's often separated him and David Holland when it comes down to the finish of these races. We'll have to keep an eye on what David Holland does. He was only about 2 seconds ahead when Seitz came into pit. Seitz was definitely able to hold on a little bit.
Still watching this battle, what is now for 4th, with Cranefoos jumping up because of the pit stop from Seitz. And this is looking a little bit closer for Cuerdo this time. And the red machine that you're watching, in the middle of those three, that is Verity. Once again, trying to break the draft. Weaving back and forth a little bit, but he leaves too much of the door open. Mauricio is going to send it in. Can he seal the deal, though? Chops him off and a little bit of ghost contact. He manages to keep the car going. But is it damaged? It's damaged. Oh, no.
Now, he might be able to take this for a scheduled stop anyway. I don't know how badly damaged.
It's
they're
grabbing.
ruining a lot worse than I thought, yeah.
That is a shame. Because the cars didn't touch on my screen. It was just all the unfortunate internet lag. A little bit of wing damage as well. Holland did not pit last time by, interestingly. I wonder if he needs to pay closer attention to things. And try and pit at the same time as Seitz so that he doesn't lose track position. This is our leader now.
Curious as to whether or not David Holland's going to take tires. I would assume he would. He's got the time to play with.
No pit stop this time. He'll stay out. I can report that Cuerdo is definitely having to get damage repaired because he's been in for half a minute now. So likely, if he does get back out, he's going to be multiple laps down, sadly.
And some more pitters, it looks like. David Sirois from 3rd. And Daniel Cranefoos from 4th.
They're also going to be joined by David Blackwood. He's a lapped car, so that's someone from farther behind. Not many of the other drivers up at the top coming on in. Seitz is easily going to jump by Cranefoos and Sirois. You see the Hoisingveld driver getting his service, and Sirois is going to return what looks like 9th position. Thankfully with an open track, so no worries about trying to rejoin in that very blind pit exit.
And David Holland is coming in.
Exactly. I was just wondering, I was like, how good is he on fuel? That'd be amazing if he's that fast and that efficient. Long gap from him back to Clenard, who's going to join him.
Yep.
Where is Seitz?
Seitz is good halfway down the backstretch.
Not sure that this is going to be enough for Greg to try and jump him. Holland comes into his pit lane. So Seitz is 6.8 in his stall stationary. 5.6 for Holland. Much, much quicker.
Sights onto the front stretch. Yeah.
Holland's gone.
Big gap.
Did not work out for Greg, but you know, credit to Greg. At least he tried something. He went for a little bit of a different strategy. It just didn't produce fruit. I think we're getting...
Lenard's still in his pit stall, too.
Ooh, was that a
must have been a-
speeding penalty, maybe?
Rolling now, but that seemed to be a pretty long
Yeah,
stop, unless...
I think that was a speeding penalty because
15
it's
seconds. Yep.
Exactly. Yep. The clock tells the tale usually when it comes to penalties here on iRacing. And when it's 15 seconds, you can take an educated guess. So poor Rod Clenard, you talked about him needing to try and contribute points for the team's championship. This is going to take a bit of a hit, unfortunately, after looking at a potential top 5 or top 3. See if there's anybody else. I think Bear is the only driver who needs to pit, and he is a lap down, so he's probably not using fuel as quickly as everybody else. That means pretty much all of our front runners have been in and out, and the order is sorted. Best battle we've got is for 11th. Here's a driver we haven't talked about much today, Tyler Gore with Christopher Richards, who we were watching a lot in the qualifying. Richards has been on a tear, 25th in his fastest lap in quali. Has turned into 12th on the race, actually.
Yeah, and Tyler Gore, he didn't qualify, but he did start back in 32nd. That's last place.
So Bill wouldn't be willing to give him the hard charger, unfortunately. But I'd say that Richards is looking like he could earn it today, especially if he can try and get up there and get another spot from Tyler. Make this the top 10 now because they had another driver pit ahead of them, and that was Lauren Sebastian, I think. This is probably a second pit for the 83. Don't know what caused that, but it does not look scheduled. Ooh, let's head back up to 6. Rod Clenard is trying to make up for that bad pit stop. He's already closing in on Day. Day is going to take the inside, but he lifts. So Raymond is not interested in messing around with Rod, especially knowing his pace, and that puts him back up to 6th.
I think that might have been some team strategy as well. These two are both Vantage Azuro drivers trying to help out David Holland, and definitely going to have, I think, the best day that they've had all season, if this is the result that holds, 1st, 6th, and 7th.
Watch from Day's perspective as he follows his teammate. Maybe he can pick up some tips as well. Who knows? Seems to be that Rod is the faster of the two. They already back a little bit here.
Rod has a little bit of lap traffic ahead of his next target, Stephen Verity, in the form of Daniel Barnett.
Love watching cars work their way around this track. Have to admit, it's one of my favorites on iRacing to drive. It's challenging. It doesn't always treat me well, but I love it nonetheless. They're going to lap another car here. That's just Daniel Barnett that they go by. Left to go, so 2/3 of the race is gone. Richards and Gore are still trying to settle out who is going to finish within the top 10.
Gore went a little bit wide there, the exit of 7. That might allow Richards to get back into the range here where he can get some airflow off the back of that number 7.
Gore is the one you see on your screen in the purple. The red and green is Christopher Richards. He does close in. Just doesn't have the speed to try and finish it, though. Could still set it up later, as I mentioned. Still a third race to go. Yeah, that was a big slip up.
Richards is going to look in underneath on turn 12. That might not have been the best move because he's going to get bogged up on the curb. He's lucky he didn't lose it. But all that momentum, all the ground was lost there.
It does bring in Owen McLaughlin in 12th place. So a three-way fight now to figure out the top 10 at the end of the race. So come down through the S's, everybody going back to single file. Everybody going to stay safe through turn 5. All good for these three once again. And now one of the more critical portions, out of 6 and into 7. Can anybody get the launch they need?
Another big launch for Richards. Not so much a big launch for him, but a little bit wide for Gore. I'm noticing that's a different line that Tyler's taking. Doesn't seem to have hurt him this time by, though, as much as it did last lap.
Yeah, keeps him safe, if anything. Looks like he carried that speed well. Look at the 0.4 of a second gap he's holding over Richards. This is our best fight within the field at the moment. Watch from McLaughlin's perspective now. He really closed in on that final part of the lap. The bronze car starting to close in and see a bigger and bigger gearbox in front of him. And as I say that, front half of the course seems to be a bit of an Achilles heel and immediately drops back significantly.
You might have noticed the plain matte paint schemes too from McLaughlin and Tyler Gore. That's actually a kind of a team paint scheme, but for Blown Tranny Racing.
Onto the backstretch once more. Richards, that's when he really needed to try and get an exit that pushed him forward, and he didn't get it this time. So Gore once again going to breathe a sigh of relief that he won't be under attack. As we're watching this, if you haven't been looking at the tower on the left, Holland is still the leader, and now it's an even bigger gap than the first half of the race, 6 seconds ahead of Greg Seitz. But Seitz, to his credit, he has been running a torrid pace compared to the rest of the field. It's just Holland is even quicker because Sirois is 13, almost 14 seconds back from second place. There is Seitz on screen now.
Seitz has also slowly closed this margin a little bit, I believe, to the leader. I think he was about 7 seconds when he came out of the pits, about 6.5 now. And I did notice the lap time's a little bit quicker for Greg Seitz. Couple of tenths every lap, it seems like.
I'm not sure that's going to be enough to run down David in these final 12 minutes. He's going to need to be half a second a lap quicker to at least get to him, let alone try and pass him in the end. So a tenth or two a lap is just going to be shy, unfortunately, of the mark.
Well, just when I said that David Holland was maybe managing the gap a little bit, I took a quick look at him, and he was over. He must have gotten an off track after turn 5. So he's definitely I don't want to say overdriving. He's definitely driving aggressively, though, still late in this race.
Yeah, I think both of those top two are taking it to the edge here. Let's jump back to Tyler Gore once again. McLaughlin has fallen away. Richards, though, has closed in once more. And the number 7 is looking in his mirrors. Not going to be an opportunity. 2 different lines, though, as they approach the blind turn 3. And it seems to have worked out better for Gore, who accelerates away a little bit more smoothly. Only 13 cars left on the lead lap out of 32 starters here today. Said it was a short lap, and that really tells you the tale of the tape, so to speak. There's so few cars and still 10 minutes left to go. It's almost the sort of numbers we expect to see at Lime Rock Park, of all places. Richards not able to keep up this time by, though. Gore takes it from what was about 3 to 4 tenths up to now 9 tenths of a second between himself and the number 49. So the Midwest driver is going to have to try and get himself back up there once again. I tell you what, Sights has closed it down once again. Can we pull up a lap comparison between the 18 and the 74?
Yeah, he's definitely. It looks like that last lap actually he was 3/10 quicker. Seems to be that 1 to 3 tenths quicker every lap.
So we pull that up on
Oh yeah.
screen, and yes, indeed. Only lap he was slower was lap 24. Otherwise, chipping away and chipping away. Again, this is not enough, but that's telling right there.
Yeah, like you said, I don't think it's quite enough with only 9 minutes
Oh
left,
no.
but
Christopher Richards had a mistake that gave up 2 positions. And I think if we get a replay about 50 seconds ago, Richards coming over turn 5, he manages to save the car, and that's the good thing, but the car comes to a halt, and that means many drivers are able to sneak by.
yeah, Owen McLaughlin and Josh Daniels able to get by from that.
Here it is, into turn 5. You're going to see him out of the S's. I think he gives it, yeah, oh wow, it went even before he turned into the corner. Jeez.
Yeah. And that actually has created a new battle on track. Josh Daniels has caught Owen McLaughlin for what has become 11th place.
Yeah, this is good for Gore, bad for Owen, because Gore is now about 1.8 seconds up the road.
I think Daniels was able to close in because he was able to keep it flat out, and I believe McLaughlin had to get off the gas to avoid Richards in front of him.
And here's where it complicates things. The number 18 of David Holland is directly behind him. You can even see him there from this onboard camera, quickly approaching. He doesn't have to try and hustle through, and Josh Daniels actually might be able to get this done right here and now. If he's gutsy on the brakes, he's a little shallow, comes back to the racing line a little bit more, and I think he's got it. Just as our leader starts to come by. Holland now lapping McLaughlin. And then he'll want to try and sneak by Josh Daniels, but this is not a part of the track where there's a lot of openings for that. Oh, and Clenard's going to get Verity. Right now, they are side by side. Clenard going the long way around into the chicane, gets him into P5.
After that speeding penalty, Clenard's been chipping away, and he's able to get one.
Still, that, like I said before, he was looking at a potential podium here.
Yeah.
He's a whole 9 seconds back from Serwa. You have to think that definitely would have been his P3 had he not made that critical error.
He still might be able to get Crane Foos, but he's dealing with traffic. Andy Spicer in front of him. And he's going to be able to get around there. Spicer's going to move out of the way.
Yep,
So that's going to set up an open route, it looks like. Daniel Cranfus in front of him. It's about 1.5, 2 seconds there.
Good heads up from Andy to see what was going on and let them all by. 6 minutes left to go. This now becomes our only battle after McLaughlin and Daniels get theirs sorted out. Gore had a mistake, though, because Gore was 1.8 seconds up the road, and now Josh Daniels is suddenly less than half a second behind him. Oh, and he's going to be ahead of him here. As a mistake up and over turn 5, another car to escape disaster. Let's get an onboard from Tyler, because this is another hairy moment.
Like he said, avoiding disaster. He had a couple of potential mistakes in there to throw him off, but he's able to get over the curb, over the tarmac, over the gravel, over the grass.
Car was really bouncing, so not sure if he even got air potentially there. Hopefully the underside isn't damaged in that, because if he is, it's going to be a very tough day to the finish from there on down. Even though it's only 5 more minutes left to go, nobody wants an ill-handling car at their helm. Let's check in on David Holland, our leader. Has now lapped everybody except for 9th place and above. He's got about that 5.5 seconds over Greg Seitz. That is, instead of steadily coming down as it was before, begin to yo-yo from about 5.5 up to 6 seconds. Now it goes down to 4.5 though. Did Holland make a mistake? Did he ease up a little bit there? That was interesting.
Seitz is driving the wheels off his 74 machine as well.
I think Seitz is still hungry. I think he knows that he's got to beat him on track. This has got to be a bit gutting for Greg, though. Like we said at the start, he mentioned specifically he considers this one a strong track, that he beat Holland here last season. Well, Holland's going to get his revenge this time if things stay how they are.
Yeah, Seitz is kind of sliding through the track. You can see sliding through the chicane, just really pushing it. Might be hurting him a little bit there. But yeah, let's go on board here. Take a look at him. Aggressive through turn 1.
This is a really good idea of just how hard it is to spot the turn in there into turn 3. And then I'd love to see this over 5. Is going to have to get out of his way soon so he can get through. So quite smooth there for Greg Seitz up and over 5. There goes Gore. Can't even see his rival up the road. That's just another lapped car in front of him. That's Josh Daniels. See if we can spot him down the hill. Just heading up the hill. On the other side of the chicane.
Just a little speck, a little bit wide there.
Still pushing, I think, Greg.
Oh, yeah.
There's an onboard lap with him. Fully around the track. So we'll show you what it's like sitting in with some of the top talent here in the PRL F3 series. Fortunately for Greg, top talent today not going to be good enough for the very top spot unless we get a mistake out of Holland. So back in the mid-pack, we stepped away for a bit, and McLaughlin, who had a challenge before from Daniels, now finds it's Don Lee instead in the number 71, starting to reel him in.
Both these drivers a lap down, but they're definitely still battling for position. McLaughlin after a mistake, trying to hold on to this spot. A little bit slow through 7.
And that could really hurt him here, honestly, because that gives Don Lee the slipstream as they come down the backstretch. Interesting that he immediately covers off the right side, which is going to give him the inside here. We're going to be 2 to go this time by the way. Don Lee making it look easy down into the chicane, demoting McLaughlin down into 13th with that move.
McLaughlin coming to the pits. I wonder if he's low on fuel.
Either low on fuel, could have a penalty for incidents. Remember, they get a stop and go.
That's true.
When they hit 11, which is kind of shockingly low, to be honest.
Definitely. I'm honest.
So there goes Clenard. Back up to P5, but he's 2 seconds down from Kranefoos. Not sure that we're going to see him be able to get up into 4th place. David Holland, who I think should just come across the line to take the white flag. A couple corners to go with 30 seconds left. That should be plenty to see the unfurled white flag as the number 18 comes under the Suzuki bridge, and indeed down to the line. White flag waves for him. A little bit of traffic in the form of Sheldon Rosenbaum up ahead, should not be an issue. Have to feel for Greg Seitz. If it weren't for David Holland, Greg has been there a lot this season. He's been able to try and take those top spots. Was second in Zandvoort, and then had a bad race, of course, at Lime Rock. Or not a bad race, had a good race at Lime Rock, taking a victory, excuse me. And then the third taking at Imola. Now he's going to look at another second place.
Looks like David Holland getting off the gas on the backstretch. He doesn't want to get tied up with this lap traffic in front of him.
So down to the line for our championship leader, David Holland, out of the chicane. Another victory, his 4th out of 5 races here in Georgia. Seitz follows him home in second, minimizing the damage. How about David Sirois? From 9th on the grid up to a 3rd place position. He was a ways back, though, just to 2nd place, 19 seconds up to the lead, a whole 22 seconds. Still, a third is a third for the Canadian.
Another impressive run comes right behind him, too. Daniel Cranfus, who started in 11th place. He's going to end up finishing 4th. He is going to be able to hold off the challenge from Rod Clenard. Clenard's going to come across the line 5th after his speeding penalty. Looks like Verity behind him in 6th.
Biggest mover that qualified, it looks like, might just be Olivier Legault, because he's going to come home in 9th position. In fact, I believe the last car on the lead lap, but he came up from 19th. Let's give a little love to the number 88. We haven't looked at Legault, I don't think, at all this race, but a nice run for what I believe is the teammate for Sirois. That's going to round out our coverage of the race itself. We're going to take a quick break, but the broadcast isn't done. Upcoming, we'll have the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. Stick around, because on screen, you're going to see all the upcoming races listed here for the GSRC. Welcome back to Road Atlanta, round 5 for the PRL F3 Series. Saw David Holland take his 4th win of the season. It's looking like another championship could be on its way, but still half the season left to go. So you can't count those chickens quite yet. Greg Seitz is hoping that's the case and that he can make a run in the second half of the season, because he took another 2nd place here today and continued to lose points with David Sirois. Gathering up points for their team's championship with a nice podium. Daniel Cranfus with a 4th, going from 11th, and then Rod Clenard throwing away what could have been a podium after getting a speeding penalty. And winding up in fifth, Stephen Verity finishes P6, and Raymond Day was in seventh. David McDonald with an eighth today, and then Olivier Legault, we followed him home to finish ninth, the last car on the lead lap. Josh Daniels with a well-earned top 10.
Behind them, Tyler Gore, Don Lee, and Owen McLaughlin. That'll be the order of the battle we were kind of following there at the end, 11th, 12th, and 13th. Andy Spicer's going to come home in 14th. Daniel Barnett, I think he's the last finisher there on the track in 15th. Lawrence Sebastian and David Hebert were both 2 laps down. I think the rest of this field, Joe, I think it's DNFs.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm looking at there on down, and it is a lot of big numbers on laps down. So that means that we now head to our winner for the day, David Holland taking the win. The gauntlet was thrown down last week, David. You heard Greg said I beat him last season. I think I could do it again. And, well, you stepped up and you proved him wrong.
Yeah, hey guys. Yeah, a bit of strategy there. I knew that we were close. We were essentially as equal as we could get here. It was probably going to come down to strategy. So that whole first stint, my focus was to just keep it as smooth as I possibly could and leave the option open for not taking tires. And I knew with him, if he was less than 3 seconds behind me, he might not take tires just to jump me. So I had all kinds of things going around in my head, but ultimately I was like, look, I'm just going to keep it smooth, not take tires, and see how it plays out. And it worked out.
What were the tires like this time when they were fresh? Because we saw in the first lap, it seemed there was a number of spins and mistakes into braking zones from drivers. So it looked like it was a bit of a handful.
Yeah, it was. I'm not sure if it's how the track rubbered up during practice and qualifying, but it was definitely a little bit looser than I would say that we were used to, especially during the official practices and official races. Also as the track temperature was coming down, we were noticing it was taking another lap to get the tires up to temp. So maybe that played a role in it as well.
Could be. So drivers continuing to have to adapt to the new rubber. Next round is going to be very different with a lot of speed and a very long lap time. Are you looking forward to Spa?
Oh yeah, Spa is always a lot of fun. It normally produces some really great racing, especially in these high downforce cars. There's just so much drafting on the straights and everything. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
We're looking forward to it up here. Anybody you want to thank before you take off?
Yeah, for sure. As always, got to thank the team, Vantage Esports. Poor Rod just could not catch a break. He was having a great run, came into the pits and got 18 seconds of required repairs, but still ended up with a decent showing, thankfully. And then, of course, the sponsors, NinjaTrader and ButtKicker, you guys at GSRC and the league, PRL. Appreciate it, guys.
Thank you very much. That was David Holland. Also, I guess we are not detectives because we guessed wrong on what held up Rod. Meanwhile, Nick's going to try and track down what went on with Greg, though.
Yeah, here with Greg Seitz, who, Greg, you finished second again today. I know that's probably disappointing for you, but you were on a heck of a charge there at the end.
Yeah, I was actually really surprised. I kind of wrote myself off after I don't know if you guys saw it on the replay, or on the broadcast, but when I came out of the pits, I took on new tires and my outlap on turn 7, I did the classic overrun that turn and ended up on the grass. So I think that cost me a few seconds there. So at that point, I was basically just, I really didn't think there was any hope, but kind of in hindsight, there actually might have been.
Yeah, I think we actually missed that, but your pit stop strategy, we noticed he came in 3 or 4 laps before David. Was that planned on your part? Did you think that was going to help jump him?
I didn't think it was going to jump him, but what I wanted to do was kind of split my tire stint. So, I was kind of halfway through deciding if I should take tires or not, but I was far enough behind that I felt like, my best bet was to take tires and just push super hard. And so I wanted to kind of I came in about halfway through the race. So I just came in a little early. So I'd have about half the stint on the one tires and half on the other set. So that was my plan. But like I said, I screwed it up myself by overrunning turn 7 and threw away all the advantage I gained later.
Yeah, certainly not what you wanted to have happen there on the outlap in turn 7. But you did say that Road Atlanta was a track that you liked, and you were able to beat David here before. So what are your thoughts on Spa, a track where maybe the draft is going to be able to keep you together a little bit more?
Yeah, I don't know. That one's a tough track. I mean, it depends on if you can get away. I think there is a shot at the draft. He's been very good there before, so that one is not really a great track for me, but I'm going to give it my best.
Yeah, well, we're certainly looking forward to see what you can put together there. Before we let you go tonight, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, shout out to David for a great race. He had really good pace there overall, and so congrats on that win. And then once again, my teammates, Dan came in, I think, fourth, which was great for the team standing. So yeah, real happy with that. And then, of course, you guys for the great broadcast you guys do.
All right. Well, that's Greg Seitz coming home in second place tonight at Road Atlanta. Joe?
One last interview with third place finisher David Soroy. David, does it feel conflicting knowing that you managed to get a podium, but seeing the stats and knowing that you're also 19 seconds behind the next car ahead?
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed with the race pace. I think I should have had more pace, but starting back in ninth, it was very hard to move up in the field, and I lost some time there, but I had no pace with David and Greg.
You also had a front row seat to that wreck in turn 3 between Green and Basagalupa. What was going through your mind when you saw them go side by side into that corner?
I was thinking, oh shit, this is going to end very badly. I slowed down just to make sure I didn't have any contact with them, but I saw this coming. I think I was thinking in my head, it's not going to finish well.
Clearly, it did not. Apologies for the language as well, but thanks for coming and talk to us. Sorry that this one has to be a little bit short. We got a broadcast coming up real quick. Anybody you want to thank before you go?
Yeah, thank you to Lavoie Motorsport, Nitro 360, and Karting Effort, and thank you guys doing a very good job.
Awesome stuff. That was David Soroy, who took a podium today and gets a nice haul of points. But we're going to close up with a big thank you to our sponsors here, starting off with NinjaTrader. Again, if you want to see what they can do for your portfolio, check out NinjaTrader.com. And also to ButtKicker. If you'd like to improve your sim rig, go to thebutkicker.com and you can maybe hook yourself up with a little bit more realism. Also, a thank you goes to iRacing for putting us on IESN. Make sure and subscribe to the channel. If you scroll below here on YouTube, you'll see a big red button that says subscribe. Just click that. You won't miss a moment here on the iRacing Esports Network. Thanks go out to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Nick, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, check out our social media, with Twitter being at GSR Channel, Facebook, Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Gram. As we mentioned, it's off to Belgium. That will be Thursday, April 23rd, a week from now at 9 p.m. Eastern. But we have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Make sure and stick around, because in a few minutes, we'll be heading off to the Lionheart Retro Series. Until next time, race clean, race hard. See you on the track.